I graduated college in 1 year, got attention from LinkedIn, and received many messages from students and teachers on the one question, how? And here's how I did it. I figured out how to take 17 classes a semester. Just kidding. Let's rewind back on how this actually came to be. As a freshman in high school, I had an idea that college was going to be the path for me, though there's one thing I was super worried about, and that was student debt. The average private nonprofit university student borrows $35,000 after they graduate. As you see these trends, it continues to go up. So after finishing freshman year, I made it a goal to graduate college in 1 year after crafting this elusive plan, which I'll jump into in a moment. Though I faced a number of challenges ahead with this goal, and here's some questions I had in my head. How the heck was I even going to do this? Can this actually work? What happens if it doesn't? So backing up a bit, while registering for classes for sophomore year, I found out you could earn college credits while you're in high school through this thing called AP, which is huge. At the time, I was like, what are college credits? And with AP, Advanced Placement, it's a program in the United States and Canada created by the College Board, and it offers undergraduate university level curricula and examinations to high school students. And with a score of 3 or higher, typically most universities will accept that, and they'll take it as if you took the class at that college. And these are administered at the end of the year. Then, as I was researching all of this, something clicked in me. I can save both time and money. And so I thought, well, this has really no downsides. Let me sign up for some more. Though most teachers really push to only take one AP class because they are difficult, and not gonna lie, they are. As I'm going through this rabbit hole of finding more about college credits, I've discovered that you can self-study these AP exams. So AP self-study is when you study for an AP exam on your own, then you take the test without needing to take the class. And this is possible because College Board doesn't actually require you to take the class in order to take the exam. Then I went into this rabbit hole of finding other college credit granting programs based off of passing examinations, one of which is the college level examination program, also administered by the College Board. And these are tests which you can take in high school, even if you're in college. There's this other group of exams called DSST, which is just like CLEP, and each has a catalog of their own exams. And there are many other programs out there, but for this, these are the 3 core I used in order to get most of my credits knocked out. And for credits I couldn't test out of, I did PSEO, which is essentially free college while in high school. It's called the post-secondary enrollment option. And it's available in Minnesota, Ohio, Washington, and in other states it's probably called something else. So I found a local community college I can take courses from, and it's all free. Again, the super important part, I made sure that if I can get the credits through those group of exams, I wouldn't take it at PSEO or through my local college, and I'll explain that in a second why. So on to the next question. Can this actually work? A college friend of mine at the time told me about this website called Transferology, and it's a tool that tells you if the courses and exam scores you've earned transfer to that university. Also a great tool if you're in college looking to transfer to another one. And here's where many people get it wrong while they're taking courses in PSEO or they're taking AP classes. They take all these things and it doesn't transfer, which is the worst case scenario I had in my head, and why I double, triple, quadruple checked everything to make sure that it transferred. And so here's how I went about this. I crafted this plan of just doing all the college credits I could get, put that information on Transferology, then listed all the universities and programs I could do to complete in record time. Typically, you need to have 120 credits to graduate. And there's this huge bucket, which is called your generals and your liberal arts. And these are all the classes that students have to take to be more well-rounded. Now, this will work with certain programs. Like if you're leaning to more of a rigorous degree path, like engineering, biomedical, things like that, they're going to need a little bit more actual classes that you need to be taking. Aside from that, business classes, or maybe even some liberal arts, this is easy to pull off. After figuring out which classes to take, I decided on a program and a university which sort of fell into everything I was doing through the University of Minnesota system. And whenever I did these CLEP or DSST exams, I just had the option to select a university or college, and that was the one I defaulted to send my scores to. I took the program list of my major, which was organizational management, made a spreadsheet, one column with classes I can take, and one column with transfer credits I could satisfy them with AP, CLEP, DSST, or PSEO. Now you might be thinking, why, John? Why would you go through all of this? The self-studying, carving this unorthodox path, probably some sleepless nights. And there might have been a lot of that. And here's why. I realized most of these exams I could study in 2 to 3 weeks, then take the test. And mind you, depending on the difficulty of the subject, let's say it's calculus, chemistry, or biology, I recommend that you actually take the classes for, or have a tutor, or you find a teacher at the high school where you can run questions by, and that's what I did. When I was self-studying some of these exams, I would run some questions by our economics teacher that we had at the high school, and then she would be willing to help out with some resources or answer any other questions. With CLEP and DSST exams, you can take them whenever you schedule it. You find a testing location near you, and it's as easy as that. They do cost money. I think when I took them, they were around $50 to $75, but it's probably more than that now. There's also this program called Modern States where they'll reimburse you the cost of the CLEP exams, and I'll link it in the description. And they also have free courses and study material that you can also use. However, with AP exams, because they like to structure it towards the end of the year with all the exams, I had to coordinate 3 of them the first year of doing this, and it was quite the juggle. And by the way, you can take AP exams your school doesn't offer. My school didn't offer many, but they still facilitate them. So they'll have a proctor, you just go into a testing room or just an empty classroom, and they'll sit there and watch you to make sure that you're doing everything right. Now you might be wondering, John, I'm not a superhuman. How did you study? And good news, I'm not a genius either. If you've ever been in a high school classroom, you know how much time is wasted, and you're not really learning. The school conditions you to be a memorization machine. It's incredibly inefficient. Most teachers will pack their lessons with so much fat that they typically overcomplicate it with exams, tests, projects, group projects, assignments, homework, and you get it. It's not their fault. Unfortunately, it's how our education system is set up. In reality, you just need probably 20 to 33% of that to accomplish your desired outcome. It's like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, where 20% of the inputs actually derive 80% of the outputs. Not to say teachers or classes are bad, though, versus a YouTube video that can explain a subject in 10 minutes for me, and I can watch it over and over until it clicks, just makes more sense. And here's some testing tips. Whenever I approached a new exam, I would find all the practice questions. I would go on Quizlet, and any resource that's free that was out there, I would just do all those practice questions before I actually study the material, so I get familiar with everything before doing a really deep dive into it, and I know what to look for. If you focus on the questions and you get familiar with what you're most likely going to be tested on, it just works out. And that was essentially a cheat code for me. So after earning college credits, I learned that you could also satisfy high school requirements, which is a double whammy. And the crazy thing was that I was less stressed. This freed up more time for high school and extracurricular activities. I felt like I cracked open a system which freed up time on an easier path, and it didn't make sense for me not to do it. However, this wasn't easy. It was incredibly stressful in its own way. I had many back and forth emails with the school just to double check things, overthinking if it would actually work. If I just missed a few classes, it would have pushed my graduation year to another year. Fortunately, I accomplished my goal. What was supposed to be a graduating class of 2023, this year actually, I finished in 2020, freeing up 3 years, and since I knew my freshman year was going to be my senior year, I made the most out of it. Again, this was driven by 2 things, a fear of student debt and a goal of doing something out of the ordinary. With COVID lockdowns and everything else, I decided to get a graduate degree, so I didn't accomplish my goal. I also think maybe education should be designed in a way where you can get through it at your own pace rather than a rigid structure society puts on you. With technology, this is more possible than ever. And in conclusion, this was a unique path. It's not meant for everyone, but I did have a lot of people asking me about it and on what I did and how I did it. Again, I do think there are other paths which are better. especially now. College isn't for everyone, and by then you could use the same amount of time and energy that you could dedicate to something else, which could result in more outcomes, like traveling the world, starting your own ventures. And I'm not saying that school is bad. I am enjoying a lot of the benefits from what I gained in terms of alumni network and mentorship programs and everything else, though the financial and time costs may not necessarily equate to the benefits it once had. This doesn't mean it has to be the default path. And here's another interesting comment. I've learned more from audiobooks, online courses, travel, starting my own businesses, and networking events than I have for most of undergrad and part of grad school. The most value is really just the community of people and social activities that you get to be a part of. And that's essentially what you're paying for, and universities have capitalized on this. Lastly, if you can do me a favor and hit that like button, it'll tell the algorithm to push my face in front of more people, which could potentially help someone else out. And subscribe if you want to follow me on my YouTube journey. Thanks.